What happened to the man that you wanted to become? Because you know there's a bigger version of you inside that is more alive, more confident, more honest, and courageous. So, why do you keep living like a safer version of yourself? I think the answer is simple but uncomfortable. That smaller version of you is still winning. You say you want to become more, but when life actually gives you the chance to act differently, you shrink down. You wait for permission. You don't say what you really want to say. You stay in the version of yourself that feels familiar. And if you don't change, this is the version that you'll be for the rest of your life. And tell yourself that you don't know what you want, but you do. You know who you want to be, but perhaps admitting that would make your current life harder to ignore. That's why I keep thinking about a lion in a cage, this powerful animal that's built to hunt and to move and to fight. But now it's in a small space where it gets its meals thrown to it, and it's safe, and it doesn't have to fight, doesn't have to prove itself, and there's no risk. But you can't help feeling that something about it is dulled. And I think a lot of men, myself included, live some version of that. Not because our life is horrible. Our cages are comfort. It's a decent job. It's the same routine. It's the familiarity of our day to day. And all that looks fine from the outside. But inside, there is still this question where we ask, is this really it? Is this the man that I said I would become? And if that question hits you, pay attention, because that is the part of you that still remembers that there's more to all of this than what you're currently doing, how you're operating, and how you're thinking. The enemy is not out there. A lot of the time, it's inside this smaller version that's more contained, that's less honest, less courageous, and less you. This version keeps you from being judged. It helps you operate in this world safely. It keeps you from saying what you actually want. That is a safe identity. And this safe identity is actually dangerous because it's the one that we let win. It's the one we continually surface day after day to operate our lives and to keep us in the same thing. And if we're not careful, if we don't surface this now and often, that version of ourselves will be in charge for the rest of our lives. Sure, it's safe and it's familiar, but underneath, you know you're acting smaller than you want to be. And this is where a lot of men get stuck. There's that feeling, that void, that something is missing. So they start to look for things to fix themselves, like more money, a better career, a new job, more status, a stronger, better physique, self improvement. And none of those things are bad. I want those things too. But underneath it all, the real question is, what am I really trying to feel? Because it's not just about the money or the status. It's really about the freedom, the confidence, and the self respect you think those things will finally give you. Because you can still get those things and still feel trapped in the same safe version of you. The real desire is living as a man that you know you could be. For me, it's this. I want to feel like I'm living as the man that I know I could be, not just performing well and achieving or getting promotions or looking like I have it together, but actually living as him. Someone that is alive and vibrant, someone that is courageous and truly authentic. That man doesn't shrink back into a safe version of himself. And that is why external success can never fully fix this. Because if it's that safe identity that gets all that, nothing has really changed on the inside, just the outer layer. Because the real problem is not always your job or the money or how you look. Sometimes the real problem is you stop telling the truth about who you want to become. You convince yourself that being realistic meant being less alive. You convince yourself that this is just how real life works. And that dream or those dreams are childish or memories of a rebellious youth. But here's the thing, that signal, if you feel this at all, there's a signal here that we should be grateful for because it means that version of you, that powerful, authentic version of you is still there. Because every once in a while, something inside of you breaks through. It's a moment of clarity, a journal entry, a workout, or even a hit of inspiration. And then you hear that voice inside of you that says, this is not it. There has to be more. There's more to me than this. And that feeling can be frustrating and painful, but it also feels so good because in a dull existence, it reminds us that we're still alive. It reminds us there's a spark telling us that we were meant for more. It reminds you that the man and the version of you that you wanted to become is not gone. He's still there, just buried under comfort, fear, and routine. He's buried under that identity that you let win it again and again, the one that keeps you safe and keeps you on the same path. That is what I mean when I say that you're losing him. You're not losing him because he's gone. You're losing him because this other version of you, the smaller version of you, keeps winning. You keep letting that version operate your entire life. I get why you do it. The safe version protects you. It protects you from looking stupid or being different. It protects you from trying and failing. It protects you from being cringe. It protects you from having to admit that you want more. But the cost is you start to feel less alive. You feel like there's this man inside of you that you keep ignoring. And the longer you ignore him, the easier it is to forget that it was even real. And for me, I feel this at work often. I can feel myself shrinking, thinking so much about how I want to be perceived that I'm not honest or confident in what I want to say. Instead of saying what I think, I'm thinking about what do they want me to say? And it makes me sick because I know the man I want to be is not that. This is the cage. This is the cage in real time. It's not the literal cage. It's the moment where I choose safety over the version of me that I respect. So you can think of these moments like this. When you're faced with a circumstance, you have a choice to act like the familiar, smaller version of yourself or the one that you want to be, the honest, authentic, and courageous one. This one has risk. It's almost like you put the lion out in the wilderness inside his cage and you open the door and he finally has a chance for freedom. He can run out and face what the world gives him with uncertainty, or he can cower and stay in that cage. So when you're faced with those moments, remember that example. Do you want to stay caged forever or do you want to start building your freedom? So maybe for you, this cage is not about work or your body or relationship or anything on the outside, but just how you show up day to day, how you interact with the world. Maybe it's art or some kind of creative outlet that you don't want to put out there because you know it's going to suck or you know you're going to be judged for it. That's a cage. You know when you act smaller than you want to be. You know when you wait for permission. And you know where that safe version keeps winning. So the question is not how do I escape my whole life or how do I change my life? The question is how do I become who I want to become? Where am I acting smaller than I know I could? Where do I wait for permission? Where am I pretending that I don't care? And what is one thing I can do today that proves that version of me is still inside? Because the man you wanted to be is not gone. He starts coming back the moment you stop choosing the safe version to rule your life. And that choice should be made today. Because years will go by if you let the safe version be who you are, not the real you, but the one that everyone wants to see. Years will go by, and that's who you'll be. And if that's not what you want, you start today in one honest moment, one honest action, one place where you decide not to shrink or go back in your cage. This is how you get him back. This is how you become the man that you want to become. I'm Rob. Thank you for watching.